a person could easily go from pornography to the point of bigger and bigger taboo, hence the reason why all of the serial killers that are studied, whether it's Bundy or some of the other psychopaths, including the recent psychopath that tried to assassinate Donald Trump, all of them have stated that they're addicted to pornography.
But I've lived in prison for a long time now. And I've met a lot of men who were motivated to commit violence just like me. And without exception, every one of them was deeply involved in pornography without question, without exception.
A Satan that's enormous in power and size, a Satan that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him enough power for this particular role that he plays in servitude of God, to the point where the sages say that just like Hashem has made a throne of glory for himself, the Kisei HaKavod, he made a throne of glory for the Satan. Something incomprehensible. And the wife of the Satan, Lamed Yud Taf, you can't even say her name because she's even more powerful than him. And she takes control of anyone that allows any type of immorality into their life. So much so that even the extra seed that is on the bed sheets could be taken control by her to bring more mezikim to the world if the couple did not do the proper preparation of their mind, of their bodies before the act. Literally, she is everywhere when it comes to immorality. Now, how do you fight such a thing? When the Satan is so big, so massive, so powerful, and his ultimate desire, literally, he lusts for a person's neshama. He's the Malach HaMavet. How do you deal with this? The prophet Job, in chapter 13, verse number 15, the Gemara in Masechet Sotah, in the 5th section, brings a verse where Job says, Hen yikteleni lo ayachil. Were he, meaning Hashem, were he to kill me, I would still yearn for him. Now, this sounds fantastic. But the Gemara says, the word lo is spelled two different ways. Lamed Aleph and Lamed Vav. So which one did Job say? Did he say that were he to kill me, lo ayachel, meaning I will not serve him, I will not yearn for him? Or were he to kill me, lo ayachel, meaning I will still serve him? Two completely opposite meanings. Which one did he mean? So then the Gemara answers, well, we can see in his later statements, chapter 26, verse number 5, where Job says, until I die, I will not renounce. Meaning, nothing in the world could possibly make me renounce Hashem. I'll do everything and anything, including sacrifice my life for Hashem. And the sages talk about the test of Job. It's unlike anybody else. So much so that the Ramban, Nachmanides, writes in the introduction of his commentary to the book of Job, that the suffering that Job suffered took a year. It took a year. It was the most horrible suffering any human being has ever encountered. lost all of his children in one day, lost all of his, tens of millions or billions of dollars in one day, lost all of his health. Literally, the Satan was given permission to appear as if he controls the world over the life of Job. Everything that he was doing not only went wrong, it was the worst possible wrong. It was literally a personalized Holocaust. But yet, the sages say that at the conclusion of this story of the prophet Job, the Satan suffered much more than Job. How could that be? Why would the Satan suffer? I mean, Job suffered all type of agony, pain, sorrow, emotional, spiritual, mental, every possible pain you can. Satan is an angel. What sorrow? Chachamim say the pain and suffering of the Satan was greater than Job because the Satan was given permission by a Kadosh Baruch Hu to inflict Job in every possible way with all of the things that would cause a person to die, would cause a person to lose his neshama, yet he's not allowed to take the neshama. And the desire of the Satan to take Job's neshama was beyond all comprehension. That's how much he wanted to take it, but he couldn't. So now you'd ask yourself, wait, if the Satan is so smart, why did he do it at all? If his ultimate desire is to take the neshama of Job, and Hashem clearly tells him, you can inflict him with the worst possible pains that would typically kill everybody else, but you can't kill him. You can inflict him with the worst things, but you can't kill him. And if that's your desire, Mr. Satan, why even bother if you can't fulfill your desire? That's because the Gemara says he's evil. The Satan is evil. Meaning that even though he cannot fulfill his ultimate desire, and not fulfilling his desire causes him sorrow, he's so evil, he still wants to inflict. He still wants to hurt Job. He still wants to cause as much damage as possible, even though he himself will be more hurt. This is very similar, if not identical, to all of the terrorists that blow themselves up, saying that they are practicing the Islamic religion, where they talk about jihad, killing themselves in the process of killing Jews. They think this is a good deed. Now, this obviously is the ultimate evil. It's evil to the extent where you see that the Satan lusts for somebody's neshama, lusts for evil so much that even if it causes him harm, he still wants to do it. That's why even Hashem calls him Ra. Even Hashem calls him evil. Now, the Chinuch, about 700 years ago, in Mitzvah 452, the prohibition of eating a limb from a live animal. This is prohibited for both Jews and non-Jews. But he clarifies as follows. What is the tam, the thing we learn from this mitzvah of not eating from a living animal? What is one of the things we could understand as humans as a purpose behind this mitzvah? Says the Chinuch, the Gemara in Masechet Chulin says that if a person eats both limbs served from an animal and flesh from a live animal, he incurs 2 acts of malkot, because this eating includes 2 separate prohibitions. Now, the injunction regarding the Ever Min HaChai, this prohibitions that we mentioned, is repeated in multiple places in the Torah, in Parashat Noach. It's mentioned where it says, but the flesh with its soul and its blood you shall not eat. And among the underlying purposes of this mitzvah is that so we do not train our souls in the trait of cruelty, which is the most contemptible trait. There is no greater manifestation of cruelty in the world than someone who tears a limb or a flesh from a living creature while it's still alive before him and eats it. See, here, the chinuch is telling us that the underlying purpose of the mitzvah of not eating from a living animal is because this is inherently the ultimate evil. Now, why does Hashem care if we are evil or not? Because the more evil we do, the more we create distance between ourselves and Hashem. And the closer we become with the power of evil that Hashem created, called the Satan. And therefore the Chinuch sums it up and says, I've already written several times about the great benefit we receive when we acquire for ourselves positive character traits and distance ourselves from negative ones. For the nature of good is to cling to good. And being that the Almighty, who is good, desires to bestow good, He therefore commanded His nation to choose in the path of good, so that His blessings and kindness will naturally cling to them. See here, without going into the esoteric parts, the Chinuch clarifies that the ultimate good, which is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, wants us to cling to Him because it is for our good. But you cannot cling to HaKadosh Baruch Hu without fulfilling His Torah and doing His mitzvot. Now, in order for you to be attracted to mitzvot, you have to also be attracted to good. In order to be attracted to good, you have to do good. On the other hand, when a person, as the Rambam says, becomes spiritually sick, where the good becomes bitter and the evil becomes sweet to them, then they no longer want to fulfill mitzvot to the extent where they could even bring themselves to such a low spiritual level where they could literally detest the mitzvot. They could hate the mitzvot. And little by little, commit themselves to more and more evil. Some of the evil would be something that they think is not hurting anybody, like becoming addicted to pornography, not realizing that they are hurting somebody. They're hurting themselves physically. They're hurting themselves spiritually. Certainly they're hurting their marriage. Certainly they're hurting their children. Certainly they're hurting even the people that they're paying watching this pornography, because you giving them money, you're enabling them to make more sins. This victimless crime is full of victims. And with that being said, a person could easily go from pornography to the point of bigger and bigger taboo, hence the reason why all of the serial killers that are studied, whether it's the ones we mentioned in the film Tikkun Abrit, whether it's Bundy or some of the other psychopaths, including the recent psychopath that tried to assassinate Donald Trump, all of them have stated that they're addicted to pornography, without exception. So a victimless crime is full of victims. And of course, the same type of mentality will also justify other evils, such as gambling, such as stealing, such as corrupt business, such as adultery, such as even murder. Why? How could it all go? Because once, the Gemara says in Masechet Shabbat, once you allow the Satan permission to enter your life and follow what he says, today he's going to tell you to make one sin, tomorrow he'll tell you another, the next day he'll tell you another. Before you know it, you'll be an idol worshiper with a degree. You'll become one of these missionaries for Yoshke. And therefore the Chinuch says, if you take part in this evil, you'll be far away from Hashem and close to the Satan.
Dangerous impulses are being fueled day in and day out by violence in the media in its various forms, particularly sexualized violence. And what scares me, and let's come into the present now, because what I'm talking about happened 30 years ago, that is, in my formative stages. And what scares and appalls me, Dr. Dobson, is when I see what's on cable TV, some of the movies, some of the violence in the movies that come into homes today was stuff that they wouldn't show in X-rated adult theaters 30 years ago. This stuff, the slasher movies that you're talking about, that stuff is, I'm telling you, from personal experience, the most, that is graphic violence on screen